To be here, it's really a wonderful and immense pleasure to be here, to witness dialogues, deliberation, and diligent interaction from three of the best minds who has contributed a lot to the ideals and practice of holistic learning. This is going to be a very exclusive session. It's a part of what we have at Partha Ghosh School of Leadership, Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur. And we always conduct one such lecture per month. The goal and the imperative of this talk is to inculcate, inspire, and ignite the fire of becoming good, a better human being, so that we create happiness within our own mind and we radiate happiness with people around us. And eventually we become the center of happiness, because in our consciousness, we reflect the universal consciousness. So today we have an extremely bright panel. And this session of today is going to be in the form of a panel. It's going to happen like this, that we'll have a series of 3 panels, roughly about 9 to 10 minutes of each esteemed speaker, perhaps deliberating on a PowerPoint just as a visual tool, but actually sharing with us her or his wisdom. At the end of the 9 minutes panel of every speaker, we'll have a quick discussion. And that discussion will be a chain and a thread line to the next speaker, also speaking again for about 9 to 10 minutes. And then we have the second round of questions. And then we complete the third speaker. So with this, we develop a premise, the basic foundation of what we are asking here in today's discussion. And with that premise, we'll proceed to 2 or 3 more quicker panels, panels of 3 to 4 minutes, with more questions coming in and answering questions and answers more rather than deliberating. So we may have a little more than 3 rounds if time permits. And the imperative of this session is actually to bring about something which is so important, which is illuminating education, which begins with research, which is mostly an external thing. And that research responsibility leads to awareness, and we move from outside to inside. And with rising awareness, we move in more inside. We reach the world of meditation. And even the classroom, even the lab, even the schools and the colleges becomes receptacles of meditation. So meditation is just not closing eyes and running away, but it's actually get connected to a larger truth wherever you are, whatever you are doing, and with whomever you are in a gathering. That is converting our karma to karma yoga. And then with karma yoga, we move on to other forms of yoga, which is the whole foundation of Gita. So we have 3 esteemed speakers. And our first speaker is Professor Madhumita Chatterji, whom you can see in the panel. She's a very renowned, distinguished academic leader with over 3 decades of experience in management and leadership studies. And of course, she's the director of one of the most renowned schools of management in Bengaluru, which is known as ABBS. With her, we also have the pleasure to have a very erudite, very calm and prodigious speaker, Sri Anilkumar Pandit. To begin with, belongs to the fraternity of the Indian Institutes of Technology. So he comes from IIT Bombay. He has more than 55 years of leadership experience in products, systems, and services. And he's basically a systems specialist, which is becoming a very important paradigm in education today. From where we can see the connections between the more reductionist form of education that we have and the more holistic form of education that we have in our country for ages. Sri Pandit is also a specialist in global systems of harmonization through BIS, and he also leads connections with the International Engineering Education body. So he's a very important person as a speaker today, and he comes right in the middle. He's like the connect. And then we come to the core. So we are moving centripetally. We are coming from outside to inside. And finally, we reach the hub, the nave of the will. And we not end with, but we begin with Madam Dhwani Shah, who has dedicated her life and philosophy and a lot of her resources to the making of holistic well-being in practice and also raising people from doomsday to happiness. Happiness in the holistic form. She's a founder of the very celebrated Dwarkadhish Holistic Centre, though it sits in one of the states of India, which is Gujarat, but the ramifications of a center is beyond the state and it's becoming a national phenomenon. And she is the advisory member of many organizations, one being the Vedic Al Gurukul interface, which is a very interesting thing, and she's going to talk about that. So to repeat, we are going to have a large panel, a series of 3 speakers, about 8-9 minutes, followed by 2-3 minutes of questions, and then we'll reduce to smaller and smaller interactive cycles of discussion, like 6 minutes, then probably 4 minutes, and then probably 3 minutes, and more questions and answers rather than spending a lot of time on a single topic. Yeah. So with this, I have the pleasure to invite Professor Madhumita Chatterji, the first panelist. She's the director, as I said, of ABBS School of Management in Bengaluru. So, namaskar, madam.
Namaskar.
Yeah, it's over to you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Today is Brihspati Bar, today is Guru Bar, and as Anilji said, it is also the day of Dattatreya, where you get the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar in one body of wisdom. So to typify and signify that, we also have the 3 speakers today. Madhumita Madam, Anilji, and Madam Dhwani Shah. We start with you, Madam. Thank you so much. And Partha Ghosh School of Leadership is extremely indebted to you for this leverage that you have offered us. It's over to you. May you take up the first panel and you may share your presentation. And perhaps you maintain about 8 to 9 minutes.
Okay.
Give us an overview of your prime concerns. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'll just start my presentation. It's my honor and pleasure to be part of this great erudite, participants who have joined us. So I'll just start my presentation because we have limited time.
Yeah. As Madam shares the presentation, I will just touch upon a very interesting point which I realized. Maybe I'm half right. So we start with Chanakya Niti. So that's about karma and artha at the lowest level, and from there we move on to Dharma-Niti, which is Vidur-Niti, perhaps so, and then from there we move to Krishna-Niti, which is moksha. So this is just a conjecture which perhaps follows the Maslow's hierarchy of needs or Sri Aurobindo's hierarchy of minds. Over to you, madam.
Can you see my slide?
Yes, we can see your slide. Yeah. So I think others let us mute. Yeah.
So good evening once more and a warm welcome, and it's my honor to be here. Today we'll be discussing, of course, three nitis and their relevance. So, what I would like to urge all the participants here is what makes these ideas particularly interesting is not their antiquity, but their contemporary relevance that they have today in this world, which is shaped by AI, uncertainty, rapid changes. Perhaps some of the most powerful leadership lessons can be drawn from these nitis. So as I begin my session, I would invite all of you not to merely look at these teachings as wisdoms of the past, but to explore them as living ideas that can inform the decisions we make today, as Professor Joy Basu was telling us. So let us look at them to build our future. So I would start with Chanakya Niti, then it will move to Vidur-Niti and then to Krishna-Niti. Though there is a gap of almost, as per traditional format, 1400 to 1500 years between the Mahabharata and Chanakya, but historical estimates make it 500 to 600 years. So what happened in our country that we lost this wonderful Vidur and Krishna Nitis, and we had to go back to this place where Chanakya had to come and rebuild the entire system. And that is why we are moving from Chanakya to that, so that we can get back to that wonderful systems that we had. So Chanakya is known as the survivalist, the system builder. He is from the 4th century BCE, 350 to 275 BCE. He, of course, focused mainly on stability and defense, because he was coming to an India that was fragmented, that was under foreign invasion. So he was trying to bring in a ruthless, unshakable system, because that only survival can allow us to bring in security, higher ideas, and those things cannot exist without having the rules and the regulations. But there is a difference in the way that he presented the rules and regulations. It was not about a strict form of rule, but it was about bringing in ethics into the system, bringing in transparency into the system, so that we could bring in the higher ideals. So the great paradox that we face today is, why do organizations fail despite of the talent, the technology, the capital, the data? And most often the answer is probably the leadership systems that do not really help in encouraging those organizations to move ahead. Now, the purpose of the framework of Chanakya, I would like all of you to look at it, that knowledge without strategy is powerless. Strategy without ethics is dangerous. And that is where Chanakya differs from those who just give rules. So he has given rules which has a lot of ethics into it. So Chanakya matters in the 21st century because of the geopolitical uncertainty, technological disruptions, and the lack of ethical leadership and sustainable value creation that we are all looking for. So there is a Saptanga theory of Chanakya, which I'm not going to look at this point. This is a very famous theory. Many of you may have read it, which talks about the ruler, the ministers, territory, population, fortifications, treasury, military, and the allies, which is how he built the state. But what I am going to look at are the nitis, the aphorisms that he created, which gives us a fantastic way forward for leadership and individual development, because that is where we are proceeding by the other nitis as we move on. So Chanakya had 7 pillars that he talked about, which I culled out from his aphorisms. One is knowledge, character, talent, governance, strategy, enterprise, and stakeholder welfare. And if you look at it, the stakeholder welfare is at the center of everything. All the 6 pillars are actually oriented towards bringing stakeholder welfare. And this is very, very important in the Indian system, because the Indian system has always spoken about the individual becoming unique, but the culmination of that individual uniqueness lies in giving back to the whole. So we come out of the whole and we have to go back to the whole, and that is what is the most important thought of the Indian philosophy, which says, I cannot grow alone, I have to grow with the others. So looking at the first pillar, which is knowledge, he says knowledge is the greatest wealth. And why is it the greatest wealth? Because we are not looking at just information acquisition. We are looking at knowledge creation and societal application. And this is where, when we are looking at today, people are saying AI is going to take over. But can AI have empathy? Can AI be creative? Can AI make the right judgment? And that is why we have to ensure that the knowledge that we are creating is for the benefit of the society. And that is where Chanakya is telling us that Vidya Dhanam is Sarvadhanam Pradhanam. Knowledge is the greatest wealth. And then he brings in the concept of character. He says, always avoid the unethical, seek for the virtuous associations. Your companions should be ethical, they should be virtuous. So he's talking about the concept that integrity will create influence. Any ethical leadership brings in trust. And we must realize that trust is a value. Trust is not a skill that we can teach in a classroom. So how do we create this value? And if you look at the business world, isn't the business world all about a network of trust relationships? It's a two-way process. So trust is something that remains the most valuable organizational asset, and it can come only when there is integrity, transparency, and ethical behavior from an organization. Trust, in fact, is nothing but an economic asset as well. Then he talks about talent, which all of us talk about in an organization or in an institution, where we say talent management, talent recruitment, and look at it, how many years ahead already Chanakya had spoken about it. And he says, just as gold is tested by rubbing, cutting, heating, and beating, a person is tested by sacrifice, character, virtues, and actions. Now, this is where he brings up in the individual. He brings in the individual who has to grow, who has to move towards self-awareness, leaving his ego behind. And this kind of a talent is the strategic capital that an organization can really look at. So this inspiration that he talks about is going to give us, the development, the succession planning, the engagement. And unfortunately, you see, Chanakya built the Maurya Empire, but it was Ashoka after whom we don't hear about it, because he failed in succession planning. So talent development framework has to be understood very well for any organization or any country to grow. So this is where we have to look at this whole concept of inspiration and how unique each individual is. And that is the beauty of the Indian system. It says each individual is unique, and each individual has to find a place in the whole, but the uniqueness will have meaning, or the culmination, when only that uniqueness adds value to the whole. It makes the whole better, and that is what we are looking at when we say service in our tradition. Then he talks about governance, and this is something that we are all debating today, and he has a very simple word. He says dharmena artha, which means prosperity must be pursued through ethical means. Today we are only profit driven. We are not looking at the means of earning profit. We are only looking at how money is getting spent in CSR, but are we looking at where money is coming from? And that is the whole idea of this concept, that any prosperity has to have an ethical grounding. So when we are looking at an organization, the triangle, the board, the management, the stakeholders all have to be involved in this whole process. Today, material wealth has become the central point. In fact, we are measuring success. Individuals are measuring success by the amount of material wealth that they have among them. But is material wealth the real measure of success? We should have wealth that preserves the whole. Now, if I go back to the trinity of our Indian gods, we talk about Brahma, his spouse is Saraswati. So knowledge, without knowledge you cannot create, and creation cannot happen if the correct knowledge is not available. So we started with knowledge, we moved on to creation. Then it talks about the preserver, the Vishnu, his spouse is Lakshmi. Lakshmi is the wealth. But the wealth will have meaning when it preserves the whole. And then we come to, of course, the Trinity, Shiva. I don't like the word of destruction. It is dissipation of energy, which of course Dhwani will talk about a lot more, where we are talking about creation of new. the innovation. So this is where governance has to look at this whole concept that prosperity is not about only profit making. Prosperity has to preserve, prosperity has to bring in sustainability. And this is a fantastic theory that Chanakya has offered, which he calls the Mandala theory, which is a strategic framework of understanding relationships. He has, of course, talked about the state, where he says kingdoms must look at their allies, must look at the competitors, must look at the neutral powers and the potential partners. And all of them are going to help the state to grow. So if you translate it in modern management concept, we are looking at strategic partnerships, joint ventures, competitor analysis, ecosystems of management, diplomacy, and business network. So a beautiful state theory can be implemented very well in business. Then his fifth pillar is about strategy, which is about again saying that the wise anticipate the future while responding intelligently to the present circumstances, because the future is born in the womb of the present. So I cannot neglect the present, but the future has to be planned. I must anticipate the future. And this is where leadership becomes very important. The strategic foresight, which is about scenario building, resilience, competitive positioning and innovation. And he says, know yourself, know your competitors, build alliances, and protect your core strengths. The core strengths are important for the individual, for the business, and for the nation. Any nation that moves away from the core strengths cannot have a wonderful future. We have examples of Japan who stood by their core strengths. There is no management school that is so famous in Japan, but all of us in every management school across the world are learning Japanese management systems because they stood by their core strengths. So these are great examples that we have in front, which Chanakya spoke about long time ago. So it talks about think ahead and act wisely. The lessons are you have to do environmental scanning, you have to understand the alliances, the resilience, the sustainable growth, and of course, innovation. The sixth pillar is, of course, enterprise, which is talking about success cannot come through without effort. Wishful thinking will not give us success. And we all have to work hard. This has also been spoken about in Gita. Even Lord Krishna says, I'm working because I need all of you to work. And on a lighter note, if I may say, even a pickpocket has to work hard to become the best pickpocket. It is the kind of work that you do that decides whether you are Ram or Ravan. So this is the concept that he is trying to bring in, that success can come only through effort. We cannot have wishful thinking. Even our Kalam, our president, talked about the dream should keep you awake. The dream should not come in your sleep only. So this is what he's talking about, and that is entrepreneurial leadership and startup mindset. And the seventh pillar, where I would stop and then move on again later on, is about the stakeholder welfare. Probably this is the most famous slok of Chanakya. It is also there in the Arthashastra in its book 1, chapter 19. And please note here the most important factor that he talks about. He says the happiness of the ruler lies in the happiness of the people. Their welfare is his welfare. What is personally pleasing to the ruler is not necessarily beneficial. This is the most important sentence that we as leaders who are going to take over anything have to understand. Very often when power comes to us, it corrupts or it brings in ego, and we start believing what I think is right. And that is what Chanakya warned us against. What is beneficial and dear to the people is truly beneficial to the ruler. And this is a wonderful thought that he has given to all of us as individuals, whether within the family, within the society, within the nation, or as businesses doing their corporate citizenship or their social welfare. So I would probably stop here and then have the next level of discussions.
Fantastic. I mean, absolutely absorbing. And the way you presented your articulation and your deliberation, the style, it was beautiful. And I can just say two things before I invite Professor Dr. Suresh Barule, who is here. I'll request Suresh to maybe open up the video if possible. I think there are a lot of observations, but this is not the time. Uh, I think if you look at Greece, which was like India, it never had an empire. It didn't have a material wealth. Yeah. But the moment the Greeks planned about an empire, with Aristotle and Alexander, and Greece started expanding its empire, that was the end of Greece. And Greece collapsed. And all that we know about Greece, Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, Pythagoras, Anaximander, they all became history. But in India, we have never had such an empire building. So that is why India has a civilization which has not invaded others, but maybe it has allowed others to invade. Yeah, that is a very interesting thing. So with this, I have the real pleasure to bring in one of the best minds that I've seen in my last 25 plus years of teaching, from Dr. Shreyash Barule, once my student, now my colleague, and probably in the future my mentor. Shreyash is a very talented professor of planning, design and architecture with a PhD from Japan, work experience with Asian Development Bank Institute in the Asia Pacific, and many more. And he knows a little more about economics, Amartya Sen, Mohbul Haq, Muhammad Yunus, all these people have talked about welfare in economics. But look at what Madam just said. India had this idea for more than 3,000, 4,000 years, and probably even from a very remote antiquity. So I'll invite Shreyash to maybe just raise a quick observation or a question to Madam Professor Chatterji. Yes, Shreyash.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Madam Chatterji. I think in a nutshell, if I wish to put your entire presentation in a very small line, I think you exactly presented what we need to unlearn and relearn again in the coming years. So these are the exact points, I think, with which we can proceed ahead, with so many younger members of the society becoming future leaders in present day and time. So I have a quick small question which I would also love to learn more about, is if you look at the Chanakya-Niti and Arthashastra extract that you presented, I think it was excellent, but in a communication point of view, this was given as a note to rulers to actually act on it, right? So if that is happening for rulers, so the empire is already established. In present case, where so many students, we are dealing with a lot of students, and recently I was also evaluating some startup pitches by students who are in the age band of 16 to 20, 25, who will become leaders of their own domain, right? So in that sense, how can we reorganize this concept into something that can be taken up piecemeal as you're growing an empire? I'm also borrowing something from Dhwani ma'am's portal, the double arrow. How can we bring in the double arrow of Mahayana Buddhism in this particular case, where the walker hasn't actually walked the walk, but he needs to experience the walk before it happens for him? So that is my question. Thank you so much.
Exactly. So what we are trying to understand here is, though Chanakya did give the rules, because he came to a situation, if you look at historically, that was the rule of the Nandas, which was very, very corrupt. It was a time, it was very heinous, the kind of rule that was there, and that people were against it, but nobody had a way of finding how do we get rid of it, because they were very powerful. The powerful, that is what I was talking about. When power gets onto your head, you become corrupt and you become egoistic. So the Nandas were ruling like this, and here was Chanakya. We believe that he was also insulted, but those are historical, we can debate on that. But Chanakya took it upon himself that he must find a way and means to remove this. As as human beings, we can do that. We can challenge it. So he came up with this, and he thought about giving a very, very strategic rules that need to be there for bringing in the survival and then moving towards the ideal. So he did bring it. But let me tell you what we would look at today. Since you asked me, how do I look at it in modern terms? In modern terms, coming back to this concept of rules, what I would like to talk to the present generation is, it's good to have rules, because when you are having a large empire or a large organization or a large institution, but always remember, rules come after an action has happened. You cannot predict rules, right? So he had seen something, he gave some rules for making it better. So when you are in an organization, there will be rules, but rules would have been formed after some action has happened. And when I follow rules, I'm in the lowest ladder. Please remember, that is just about giving me sustenance and ensuring that I survive. It is not the ideal, excellent situation. So rules are very good, but rules do not give me excellence. So I have to move beyond the rules in a positive manner. And that is what Chanakya was trying to tell. Rules are important. I have to bring it in because I need the survival. Now, for our younger generation, please remember, you may be in an organization, as you said, you were looking at the pitches, and there might be a situation which does not have a rule. Now, what do you fall back upon to take a decision? The only thing you can fall back upon is your conscience. And if that conscience is not really upgraded or is not really clarified and really aware, then imagine the decision you will take. And the other factor that I would just like to end with is, the higher you will go, the lonelier you are going to become. You know, as a beginner, you can blame your manager, the manager can blame the vice president, and so on and so forth. But your decision is impacting only a few. But higher up there, your decision is going to impact millions, maybe, you know, maybe the country, maybe the entire organization with lakhs of people working on it. So how important is the conscience then? Because there will not be rules for everything. So that is what is I would like my younger generation to understand. Whether you're building an empire or whether you're in a business organization or doing a startup, rules are important, but they are not excellence. Please remember that. They give you sustenance. They give you the beginning. They give you a place to start with, and that is the lowest ladder. Moving towards it is going beyond the rules in a positive manner, and that's why he brings in ethics, he brings in the concept of governance and all that. So I don't know if I've answered your question. And
Shresh, you have something to say as a reciprocal, but it's
No,
excellent.
Absolutely, absolutely. I completely agree with the way you have framed it with one keyword, which is rules. Of course, a set of rules is important to direct. You know, it is like those white lines on a road, which help us in a misty night or when our headlights are not there. You know, so I think wonderful, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
yeah, you could put it as codes, policies, anything. Those are the basics, but they are not excellence. An organization can.
So since the panel is on, we can just take up one question, which has to be in 2 sentences, very quick. So I can see Moses, someone called Moses Singh, or as a question. Otherwise, we move on. So I just like to pick up the very important one, madam, that you used, conscience, where all the sciences come together and produces, convents to come together, communication, conduits. A lot of dwits come together and make a conduit. Yeah. So it becomes Viveka. So Viveka Churamuni, you go to the top.
Absolutely.
But Viveka Churamuni takes you to the top where you're not alone. You trickle down with prema, with love for the whole universe. You become a Martin Luther Jr. or a Tolstoy, or maybe Karl Marx. Anyone, a person who has thought. So I think this is so beautiful. Yes, Moses Singh.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, very quick question, 2 sentences.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate what you mentioned about it's lonely at the top. And it's true that when we try to just think about climbing the corporate ladder, we go at the top, but then who are you sharing that with? So how do you inculcate the thinking that we're doing it together, holistic, not just individualistic manner? How do you inspire the generations to do it together and keep sustaining that? So when you're going at the top, you go with the team, not alone.
Yeah. I think, as I mentioned, that in our Indian philosophy, in our Indian tradition, we talk about the individual who is a unique person. We all have unique strengths, and that uniqueness we must cull out, that uniqueness we must preserve, and that is where you become an individual coming out of the whole, whether it's the family, whether it is the society, any group. So we are all members of a group, but we come out of it as an individual with our uniqueness. But that uniqueness, which is taking you up the corporate ladder, will have meaning or will have culmination when it adds value to the corporate, when it adds value to the team. So my saying I'm the best professor doesn't make me the best professor. My students have to claim that I am the best professor. Or somebody saying I'm the best engineer does not make him the best engineer. We can climb to the top and shout, I'm the best leader in the world. But does that make him the best leader? So we have to inculcate that right from the beginning, that your greatness, your purpose lies in the fact that you're giving back to the whole, because the whole is looking up at you. You are privileged with a better brain or better physical prowess or whatever, which is making you come up, which is helping you to grow. And the rest of them are looking up at you to give them a helping hand. Are we creating that mindset? Are we ensuring that the organization grows together? It's like saying in an organization, we have different branches, the west and the north has done brilliantly, south and east hasn't done. And will the organization grow? No. So how the individual must know that my greatness lies in going back to the whole and adding value. Then I will have an organization that will survive. Maybe we can debate again as we move on.
Yeah, absolutely. The panel is moving wonderfully ahead. And I think good questions, wonderful answers, wonderful questions, excellent answers. So that's how we are proceeding. So with this, we proceed. The chariot of Krishna has just moved out from the premise of Chanakya, and it's moving to the house of Vidur. So the chariot of Krishna was heading for the house of Duryodhana, the rich palace, but instead it turned around in the forest and took a deeper turn into silence, where leadership is. And Sri Krishna asked his chariot to be taken to a man who is actually the receptacle of what we call dharma. And dharma in silence, dharma in humility, and dharma in actions. So that's the Vidur-Niti. So for that, we invite the second esteemed speaker, which is Anil ji. So it's over to you, Anil ji.
Yeah.
And you take us to the next ride. Yeah.
Good afternoon. Good evening, rather. Okay. Can you hear me all right?
Sure, sir. We can hear you.
I'll start sharing. And
so Anil ji, as I said before, he is an IIT Bombay alumnus, and he has a huge experience in leadership, product, systems, and service. Over to you, Anil ji.
Perfect. The Niti that we are talking about, Vidur-Niti, and you explained who started telling whom, and the chariot moving back. This Niti that I am trying to expound is basically also for everyone, to the lowest person in the ladder, not just the leader or the emperor or whatever it is. So this is how it is. This is something which everyone can do. Simple. Okay. So begins with education. What is education? I keep asking, and there are so many, 570 definitions. But the one that I like most is education is manifestation of the perfection already in human beings. It is there. How do you bring it out and manifest it? That is really education. Now, shift the mindset, we said. Shift the mindset for what reason? To be sustainable. There are SDG goals, Sustainable Development Goals, which have been propagated, 17 of them. And with Vidur-Niti, you can almost address 50% of them. So this is something now. Shift the mindset is fine, but how do we do it? Why do we do it? Sustainability. How do we do it? In a very simple way. Develop research awareness, what new should be coming, and be truthful, as Madhumita said. Be truthful about it. while doing it. So be educated and be truthful is how we do it. Okay. We go over to just a quick one. My mission has been improve technology deliverables, not just make new deliverables, but improve them so that the customer satisfaction brings you top line, business benefits gives you bottom line, and everyone in the organization is energized. Employee energization of everyone. And then these are factors. Now, with Vidur-Niti, I have added something more as my mission. So you have right, dharma, wise decision making, and so on and so forth. We will see one by one all of them. Okay. Now, develop research awareness. Why? Why should research be there? Simple. It raises our CV. And when I talk about CV and ask them, what is CV? It says curriculum vitae, biodata, resume. But I have a very profound definition for CV. We'll come to that. Keeps ourselves, our institution and society well ahead. That is the key with which research helps you to go ahead. Derive associated benefits. Ethical foresight ensures customer trust. Madhumita talked about it. That trust is what is going to bring sustained business. So how to build that trust and with wisdom, governance. So CV for me is C for capability and V for values. Improving our capabilities and improving our values is really raising our CV. Not paying $40, $20 and getting drafted out for 4-page letter and things like that. So this is how do we go about doing it is what we will see next. Okay. Capability. Do a perfect job. Okay. Get educated. Do a perfect job. A simple thing. If you have a watch, it should give time very perfectly. And very often people see this wristwatch on my hand and they say, hey, this is an old thing. Why are you using it? Use a phone, so and so forth. But doing an expertise on anything is very, very important. And being aware of that, being a practitioner, and then eventually becoming an expert. That is getting to expertise in any domain. Capability is doing a perfect job. Now, for doing it, we have also to do in multiple domains. Just one-liner doesn't help. As we saw about the watch, multi-domain, aware of all, practice some of. Then comes whatever we have reached, keep on talking about it. In fact, sometimes they call it not very rightly, but blowing your trumpet is really showing and populating your capability. Keep on talking about it and explaining it in multiple ways. There can be Hall of Fame, this, that, so many things. But it has to be done. And that is percolating our education also. So capability, how do we do it? At General Electric, we have a very beautiful way of explaining it. And that is by a pendulum. Learn, do, guide, shape. You start learning something, then do it. And when you do it, you understand the nuances, plus, minus, problems, everything. Then you start guiding others. And when you have guided any number of people, you have reached a stage where you start shaping your organization. You can get into that. Now, the interesting thing is this pendulum, I like to show in what is known as Faku pendulum. Faculty, if you take English pronunciation, you have to cover multiple domains, not just in the same line. Go there, do this, do that. And that is covering the whole system. So this is the multi-domain capability building. Also, globally, there may be stuff which is happening all over the world. There is one thing which is create the future, which is getting into research mode and doing whatever is new, why, what. I've been an evaluator on that, but this is something where I find great inputs from Indians, wonderful inputs, and globally they have reached a very high level. So some examples is, and there are hackathons and so on and so forth. So that building up is what is building up capability and getting into research. Then I come to value. Get educated even from the opponents. Don't shy away from that. Very simple. Vidur also is explaining to Dhritarashtra, go and learn Pandavas, your opponents. So, no. But Anything that is good, get it. I just put for a value just as a number, $1 equal to 96. Could be 96.55 today or something. But the interesting part is I would like to narrate by two small stories. Wisdom and personal capability. This is a story of actual factual story of a lady who had her son in India. She is staying in India with her son, and the son has a 3-year-old son, and her daughter is in US. And this daughter in US was pregnant and was about to deliver a baby. So she said, "Come help me," and she needs my help now. She says, "You can go, but what about this small son, 3-year-old, which is here? You are taking care of him. We both are going in the office. How do we do this?" She says, "Don't worry, I will take me. So no issue." So she takes him months over there, and then she's back. And then from the flight, they're taking a train, and in the train they are coming back, and the kid says, "Bhook lagi hai. I'm very hungry. Give me something." So the lady opens out a packet of Crispies, gives it to him. He finishes it off, and then he's moving around with that wrapper. He says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm trying to find a dustbin where I should throw this." He says, No, we are back in India. Throw it under the desk." That is the wisdom of personal now. There is another story which is in fact righteous behavior. This is a story of another friend who is in US and got married there. Almost a 4 or 5-year-old kid he had, and they had gone for a weekend out. Got late on Sunday night. They stayed in a motel, and he told the wife and the son, "Tomorrow morning early we should go back because I have to join the office in the morning." So in the morning he is pulling them out and tuck, 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 tuck. And what happens is the wife is sitting next to him, and then the son, he keeps on honking the horn. The son is running and sits in the back seat, and they start off. Just a little further, and the son says, "Dad, stop." He says, "What happened?" He says, "By mistake, I have brought the hotel's towel with me. I should give it back." He says, "No, don't worry, it's only a towel, original Indian." He says, No, but it is theirs." He says, "No, I will tell them I can pay for it." He says, No, but they will need that towel. Hold it. You either stop or I will open the door." So he is forced to go back. The child rushes out, goes to the reception, tells that I was in room this, by mistake I have taken it, please ensure that it goes back, and then comes and joins and goes away. The next day he gets a letter from the managing director of this entire motel chain that we appreciate your young son's behavior. So that is a righteous behavior. And those things are all what Vidur has been telling. He has been telling to Dhritarashtra, and can be followed even by the smallest, what we said as on the lowest ladder rung. Everyone can follow this. So these nitis are not only for the big. Raise our values. How do we raise them? Make universal values personal. There are 20 universal values we'll talk about. Just give a slide at the end of it, but make them personal. No more just universal values. One of the simplest ways we have been following is script. Every week you have done something positive or negative. Script it, note it down. Share the same thing with any. Oh yeah, sure, thanks. Apply, volunteer for all roles. Shape, give and take evaluation. That's how we can make those values personal. Very simple. Internalize the values. Body, keep it healthy. Exercise, pranayam. Mind, maybe pray. Mudras. Spirit is meditate. And body, mind, spirit, and soul. Okay. So social. Spirit is soul. It is ananda, and social is love. So be loving with everyone. Internalize those values, and the foundation of ethics is what help you to internalize them. But don't just leave it there. Also demonstrate. So internalize the values, and ethics is something which helps us in internalizing it. You can see here, I have put the AICTE main points of undergraduate education, and you can see how ethics gets connected with everyone. Everyone has an implication, be it communication, be it design, development, anything. So this is what I wanted to share. Educate self for character. I said about the value of values. Swami Dayananda Saraswati has a wonderful book of 20 universally good values, and many of them percolate down from Vidur-Niti. How and what we want to pick up, personalize them ourselves, and what are the issues, what are the problems in personalize them have been spelled out very nicely in this. So that is what I wanted to share. Any quick reflections we have? Otherwise, best wishes from me. Can I stop sharing?
Yes, I think this is so wonderful, Anilji, and it has really acted as a bridge between what we just listened from Professor Chatterjee and what we shall listen just in the next third and final phase from Dhwani Madam. I think your deliberations had the grains, it had the smaller things of what to do and what not to do, especially in the education policy, especially in the way we design our courses and classrooms, especially in the way we develop ourselves as teachers or individual before we start giving sermons to others, So it's like Gandhiji saying, you be the change that you like to see outside in others, Are you the change yourself? No. So that's why our Indian philosophy has always talked about Attana Mokshathaya, the individual salvation. And then comes Jagat Hitaya. Most of the Western philosophies and modern philosophies, before we have any control and coordination, we have hundreds of websites and we are making millions of conferences and beating our drums, but we are not prepared individually. So that's why many of the organizations around the world, they come up and they go. So I'll invite Shreyash again. If Shreyash, you're around, maybe one quick observation to Anilji, if you're around.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Anilji. I think excellent presentation, particularly collating all the values of Vidur-Niti particularly. So I have a small observation question which I was thinking about as I was listening to your presentation. You talked about the righteous living idea, right? And as the economy is growing, as we are seeing that we are having so many new companies coming up, so many new structures in which companies are allowing people to work. They are allowing work from home, they are allowing work on vacation. There's also couch surfing, which is available to a lot of people right now. People are freelancing. So the variation of how to engage has changed in different forms and formats, and which is running and increasing the economy. So in this structure, if I take up the righteous living part particularly, how do we look at the 6 pitfalls that are there in the Vidur-Niti? Particularly the pitfalls of excessive anger, excessive greed, extreme joyousness, or vanity. So how do we deal and respond to that? Because as I observe, a lot of times it has resulted into bullying at workplaces. So as a systems person, how do we deal with this kind of a challenge in workplace?
Absolutely, so very true. It was a challenge even when it was being physically taught. Somebody in the last bench. But anyway, the key point is, even if it is distributed and we are not even face to face with these people, quite rightly, at the end of it, what happens is, what is the deliverables? And when the deliverables are taken, what we like to look at it is, how did you come to this? And how did you come to this is also explained. And it is explained to the whole panel, the whole group, so that it becomes a benefit for others, how to go about doing it, how to go about extracting things and things like that. And the other question that is often asked is, what were your failures? This is something which is neglected. But if we ask that, and rightfully The way the failures were overcome is something which comes about the various values that get attached with it, because that is where you get help to overcome the failures. So asking these questions, noting them down, and noting them down as a panel discussion we are doing just now with all the whole group, if not the whole group, at least the team with which the person is set up. Because yes, it is something which is there. There is one more advantage, the advantage is very often in the physical mode, things were just understood and not noted, not scribed necessarily. But now with the cloud system and so on and so forth, all this can be captured and be available. So it has become a big benefit, in fact. That is how I look at it. Is it okay?
I think that was perfect because with the earlier case where the evidence bolta hai was kind of the norm, the things have changed now. अब evidence ही है, बोलना क्या है वो decide करना होता है.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is what we are working around.
We have become more process oriented rather than goal oriented. The Kriya Yog is more important than the Gyan Yog. Yeah. So what we are doing right now is perhaps a little more important than what we are aiming 15 years down the line. That's not so important. It's a vague imperative in the future. Wonderful, sir. So I think
perfect. But clubbing the two together, the Jnana and the Kriya, is the ultimate.
Yeah, you need a water tank in the top of the building, but you need a good elevator to take you from the first floor to the 10th floor also. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So without having a good elevator, you cannot think of any distribution in the building and getting the water from the top of the roof to all floors by virtue of gravity and pressure. Yeah. So that combination is good architecture, and it's just not buildings. It's actually the human body, the human psyche, the human composition, the 10 floors or the 7 floors, whatever you call it.
There were 7 pillars anyway explained by Madhumita.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're all hidden. Yeah, the Ashtanga Jog Marg, either of the Tattreya or Patanjali, they all, or Buddhadev, Lord Buddha, they all talk about more or less the same thing. I mean, the disciples just fight. Ye bada bola hai, chota bola hai. But actually, all the gurus are talking about the same thing. So I think with this, we reach a climax and we are entering the Lord of the Lords, Purushottam Yoga. That's the 15th chapter of the Gita. And the chariot of Krishna has left Vidur and it's entering Vrindavan, the paradise, the perfect platonic unconditional love which should pervade in the whole universe. So to do that, we have the final esteemed speaker, and she's a lifeline of today's talk, Madam Dhwani Shah. I had introduced her in the beginning, but she leads a lot of things like the Holistic Wellbeing Center. She heads the Vedic AI Center, the connections between the random world and the discrete world, and the left brain thinking and the right brain thinking, the material world and the spiritual world, and how we bring the two together as one integrated world. As per the works of Sri Aurobindo, for example, integral yoga, just not yoga, but Purna Yoga, covering yoga in all its ramifications and all its things, or synthesis of yoga, as Swami Vivekananda has said, Chaturbid Yoge Shamanjasya. All the 4 yogas coexist as one yoga. Yeah, one yoga. So for that, we invite Madam to give us the deliberation of Krishna-Niti. And we offer our pranam to you.
Now the Krishna-Niti, why the topic is, or the title is shifting the mindset. It is not about changing the mindset. It is the shifting the mindset. Why it is like that? Because the Krishna does not give any advice to the Arjuna. He does not say that you do this or that. He was giving him a complete freedom to choose what he wants to do it and how he has to deliver it. And he was taking him towards his potentiality. Now let us look into our own life is that why we are not able to do the introspections, to ourselves. If as a child, when we were a child and we were going to the school at that point of time, many point of time, you must be remembering that some school project or the event into the home is there and some responsibility has been given to you or you have taken up and challenge into that at that point of time. Never the time you were hesitate to take that challenge. Why? Because you were having a lot of trust in yourself. Yeah, whatever will be going wrong or right, okay, the team is there, will be able to make sure that events will be going fast. In that, many things are there that, that they also face when any challenges are taking. Their money will be required, that, people will be required, and many other resources of the things which has been required. But that child is never thinking that if I will have a this, then I will do this. Okay, never like this. Yeah, I will take the challenge. I will start working on it. And that main thing is we are forgetting ourselves. And in our whole, any of our Sanatan scripture, if you will take it, they are telling that as a self-remembering. Now, when we heard that, we don't know how to do the self-remembering. Introspection also, what we are doing is we are chewing the same thoughts again and again. Instead of this, just recollect your childhood memories and you will be able to connect yourself with yourself, where you are, what kind of a trust you have, and how you had delivered it. Now, what Krishna is doing, Krishna is connecting Arjuna with his potentiality and the Swabhav. Swabhav means, the what is the uniqueness, as already Madhumita has explained that, so that is what it is. Now, where Krishna was awakening Arjuna, because Arjuna did not have a doubt, but he was, an indecisive at that point of time. In the Matsya war, Arjuna has already defeated single-handedly the whole Hastinapur people. Single-handedly he has, fought and he has literally defeated them. At the same time, he had got a lot of respect in himself was that. And that is why when Uttara was telling, when he was going to with his brother, so Uttara has asked that please bring the scarf of all the Hastinapur's leaders once you defeat them. So he has told, come on, we will take it up, but with keeping the respect for the Dronacharya and Bhishma, he has not taken two-person scarf with him, except for the two-person, he has taken everybody's scarf. So that is what the self-respect comes from. When in your behavior, the self-respect comes. Okay, you cannot doubt it, but definitely you can go indecisive and you forget about your uniqueness. And Krishna was reminding him regarding that only. Now, your greatest resource is measured, generally speaking, what we measure is our success is just 5% of our resources that we are using it, and that is the, our money, network, expert team, or even the supporters and the criticizers. Criticizers plays, very important role, spoken by Madhumita, and I think so Anil also has mentioned that. So that is what it is about. That is just 5% of that, and 95% of our success is lying within us, which that resources we are forgetting. And that is what, I will like to explain to you by the Mangalya. Okay, Mangalyan is, a beautiful example that I liked it very much. Now, just imagine that what kind of resources that they had it. Lower budget, lean young people team, smaller launcher, constant alertness and analysis of every details. The first time, the success, the orbiting the Mars, and that things has happened unimaginably. Nobody was expecting that these things will happen. But in that crisis, they have worked so much, taking minutely not to, not to go away from any thoughts, whether they are into the working place or into the home place or into the sleeping. All the time they were remembering that how I can make it success, and they have taken the gravitational force to make it sure that the thing with the smallest launcher they can reach to that. Now, if we will look into that, this is what called the conservation of the energy. Now, conservation of the energy has been taught in our ancient time. In the Vedantas, the first phase of the life is the brahmacharya. Brahmacharya does not mean you have to literally, suppress your sexuality, but you have to understand that this energy has got, something much, much more than what we can think is a giving, and life to something else also. So what is that? That is the love and the affection part of it. Now, if we will make understand our new generation, because the whole things has been changed, through our scientific way, through the scientific lens, they will understand all these things, and they will like to always remind themselves that how we can be alert. Now, Yog Nindra is one of the things which has been also taught during our, ancient time. What is the Yog Nindra? Your body is in total relaxations, but your mind is totally alert towards your objective of the life which has been given to you by the universe is there. That is from where our potentiality has been sprout out of that. Now just imagine when the organization is there, only the top people takes a decision that this is the objective of that. Same way the whole universe is a one organization where whether we call it Brahma, whether we call it universal energy, whether we call it anything, they have created, and certain discipline to us. They have given us a certain objective to everyone is a different objective has been given. And that's why every people is a unique and not a different people are there. If you will understand that, suddenly you will find that there is something which is lying within us, which we have missed out. And that's why we cannot reach to the 100%. Mangalyaan can reach to the 100% in the first stroke without, all the limitations, and faced all the challenges are there. And that's why it can reach to the, in the first stroke, and the copyright has been given to us. Same way, whenever the challenge are coming, whenever the any kind of conflict are coming, if your mind is, totally connected with yourself, you will be able to see that your inner potential, your trust will be much, much more effective than your outer resources. And that is what it is, about the Krishna was telling to Arjuna. Okay, right now, you are missing out something which is, already within you is there. He was just reminding him, but whole Bhagavad Gita is that. Now, if we will look to this, the change is an ongoing thing is that. Like, the water is there. If you start heating it, it will slowly heat up, but it will not make any transformation part of it. And that is what it is about the water part of it. That, the change always happens on the peripheral and in a very slow process. It requires it requires, and heating and changing, and lot of things are required, lot of efforts are required. But when it reaches to the 100%, 100 degree, automatically the transformation can happen, and the steam is the effortless is the keyword for the transformation, and the effort is the keyword for the change. But you don't have to forget that you have to make an effort. Even the Buddha, when he left his kingdom, just to find out himself, he has searched and he has gone to so many various gurus are there. Why he has gone there? It was, and he could not reach to his, final destination to the his, motive or his objective was that. And ultimately he has left everyone. He has left everything. He has left everyone. And then and suddenly on the same night, he reached to his own destination where he wanted to know what is the deathlessness is there, and he arrived to that. Whether we call it enlightenment, whether we come across, to our own deathlessness, that is what he has arrived to that. So it is whether you are doing any kind of things are there. If you don't make any effort, then something that effortless cannot happen on its own. As Madhumita has told very clearly that we are taking even though the Chanakya-Niti is much later than the Krishna-Niti was there, why we are taking the Chanakya-Niti first? After the Mahabharata war, something in the mind of the human being has got lost, and they have lost their identity, and they thought the meditations and things that being in quiet, being in cool, being and accepting to the others are there, but they had forgotten to accept themselves is there. So this is how one need to understand that how our transformation can happen is unless and until we accept ourselves as we are. That acceptance is a key point for any kind of a transformation is that if you accept yourself as you are, suddenly you will find there is something in you which you can be in touch with that. Now, conservation of the energy, let us understand that, from one thing is that in any chemical reaction, we use the catalyst. Catalyst means what? That it does not changes any of its, that particle does not change at all. It will not be, taking any part into by changing its innate nature of that catalyst is there. Okay, but it allows and accelerates the whole process about it. Now, if we will look into our Vedantas and our any scripture, they call it this catalyst as a tattva. How we can accept the things as they are, and we can reflect that, and we can be with ourselves. That is what the tathata bhav is. That we don't have to really, enter into the any kind of an action as an like an involvement into that, identified with that, but we have to participate about that, and we have to make it sure that how we can participate into that process is that. Remember that in our home, if any event is there, and or in our friend's house, if any events are there, and if we are going there, okay, and we become a participant at that point of time. Any eventuality comes, because any small or the big functions, okay, can bring a lot of challenges are there. We will not look with the eyes of criticism, or making the other person down. All this automatically, all these things drop out, but we will at that point of time focus that how to handle that challenge, so that the whole event will everybody can enjoy it. So this is our innate nature is there, and that is what, once you will conserve the energy, you will be connecting with your innate nature, which you already have it as a treasure within you. That is what you are born with it, and you have just forgotten it because of many other things are there. So this is what the conservation of the. See, I don't have a lot of time to explain and go into the detailed part of it, but let me explain to you whatever the best I can do it in the given time period. And if you will reflect just by one word, that how I can reflect with myself, and you will find that all the answers are lying within you. Now, if we will see that the cosmic determination and the instrument illusions, okay, why ultimately Krishna has to reveal his Swarup, Vishwa Swarup, what we call it. It is because the words was limited, but his Swarup might explain Arjuna the whole thing, that everything is going into the whatever way it has to go on. You are just an instrument, you are just a catalyst. You don't have to analyze it, you don't have to make it right or wrong about it. You have to participate it, you have to align with that organizations in which you are the part of that organization, which is called the cosmos or the Brahma or whatever you want to call it. Now, if you will look into that perspective, suddenly you will find that there is, something in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, verse 33, it has been written that Nimitta, you are just a Nimit. Nimit means what? You are just, taking the part into that event where you have to execute. The higher authority has given a certain of the mission to you, and you have to accomplish that. Now, I will explain to you how the things that if you will become a nimit. Nimit means what? An akarta. You are not an karta. Then how we can find out that akarta is that? A small story, very brief story of the Zen, I will tell you. Two monks were there. One is old and one wasn't young. Okay, both of them were gone in the morning for their baking and other things. When they were returning, lot of heavy rains were there, and they have to cross the river to reach to their monastery. But when they reached towards the river, at that point of time, one young woman was there. She requested the old sannyasi, and he told, "No, I will not take you." And he has not even looked at to his, as if some sin has happened, some very bad things that he is doing it. But and then he went ahead, and then the young man come, and when she requested, he put him on his shoulder and went and dropped on the other bank of the river was that. And then suddenly, okay, all the time, the old man was concerned. Old monk was concerned about what that young monk must have done. And when he has seen that he was bringing the woman, all the thoughts were going into that. And so he slowed down his walk also, and all these things were happening. And when the both of them met before the monastery, so the old man immediately started, telling him that, do you know that what you have done it now? Today I'm going to report to our master. He said, you can do it, but I have left that woman on the other bank, other side of the bank, and still you are carrying it. Inaction is an action, and action is an inaction. Okay, whether you tell it or not. The old monk has not done any action, but he was into the action. That is what the karmic relationship is there. And when the young man has dropped it, he has dropped it like a catalyst. Okay, he has participated, he has gone out. Like any function, when you are going it and you are participant of that, you have done your job the best, and then you forget about it. What you have done, you are not bothered about taking any creditability. Is that if you will think in such type of things, then you will find that certain things will again, start moving into the life, and you will be able to see that how the whole Vishwaswarupa is in our own life is there. And if we want to look the same Vishwaswarupa, now even the scientists with the drones and other things going it to the highest point, and they will be able to visualize the whole thing, that how much time is remaining, whatever the time that this destination, the things will be happening, that lot of things are happening. Same thing Krishna was telling to Arjuna. When Arjuna did not understand, he has revealed his Vishwaswarupa was there. So we don't have to take that as, and certain things, that, we are, doing something that great or nothing is that. Okay, if we will look from the picture, like, from the drone which has been seen, that, if some militaries are far away or something is there, it will be really, and good about it. Now, the last point is that the collapse of the form, and from the potential to the manifestation. This is, even we can explain through the vacuum stage of the quantum field. Also, people will be able to understand, and that is what it is about. Now, Bhagavad Gita verse 9.7 says about the reincarnation, means the illusion of the doer is there. And another point is that reincarnation, if we will take it in the form of the Newton's law of the energy, energy cannot be created, energy cannot be destroyed. It only changes the form. If we will take it in that way, then our fear of the death will be totally, it is available to you. And if we will be able to deal with it, that same fear, when it transforms it, it gives us the fearlessness, means irrespective of the circumstances, you will have a courage to take the step ahead into your life is there. Another thing about the fearlessness is that you require a fear. Without that, you cannot protect yourself also. So fear is not good or bad. Like mercury from mercury we can make a medicine also, and we can make poison also. It is our choice how we want to use that fear, and that's why the death or the fear of the death is always there in our mind is there. So this is, and small things which I have presented myself to, give you a brief idea about, and the whole conceal things about the Bhagavad Gita. How we can take Bhagavad Gita or any incidents in our life as from the scientific point of view, and according to how the ethics can be, values can be created, according to Madhumita, how the identity can be created. Everybody will be able to know that we don't have to escape from anything. We have to be with that. There is no other way than being with that. So that's it. Thanks a lot for giving me.
Wonderful. Namaskar, madam. I think you have taken us to the battlefield, right in the center line of the field. On one side, what to do, on what side, what not to do. At one side, protecting someone, and on the other side, try to kill someone. And then Arjuna, in the dialectics of things, is lost in overconfidence and also in underconfidence. So he doesn't have the right confidence to do the right thing. So the whole of the Gita is a restoration of the energy, the confidence level from lesser light to the greater light. As Swami Vivekananda said, there's nothing like good and evil. We are just moving from a lesser light, a lesser truth, to a higher truth, to a higher light. So in that sense, finally we realize all the blows that we got, all the hard lessons that we got was only meant for our good. Everything in the world is a part of the lesson. Even the best enemies are the best friends in life. I think Shreyash and I, we know that the best. Shreyash, you're there? Yeah. I think some of our best enemies are some of our best friends, because they are actually making the Shuddhikaran. They are pointing us what are the weakness in us, because we want fame. We are going to a project meeting and we want to buy off that project. But there are some people, our own friends, they become our enemies to hijack those projects, and we think they're doing bad thing. Maybe we are too greedy for those projects. Yeah. And we need a lesson to not run after those projects. So our enemies are actually helping us. Yeah. Don't know, because we are always running after our ego and our false plans. Shreyash, you're there with us? You're with me? Yeah. Maybe Shreyash has some important things here. So I think we are almost close to 9. Yeah, Shreyash is with us. So
Yes,
Shreyash,
yes.
what's your take on it?
Thank you. Sorry, it's some technical issue.
Yeah. So what I was saying, we get a project and we think we are going to get that project.
I heard you, sir.
Yeah, and some of our friends become our enemies to take that projects away, and we feel bad.
Absolutely.
But actually, they're helping us to lower our ego, and
Understand.
maybe we don't need those projects in our life. Maybe we'll be more happy without those projects. But we don't know, because we are just moving with momentary decisions and momentary profit making. So, Shreyash, a few words from you with this beautiful deliberation of Madam Dhwani Shah. I think this is excellent, and she talked about the preservation of energy, the libido. So everything that is desire at the lower level is also desire infinite at the highest level. So we move from limited desire, which is sex and materialism and everything, to unlimited desire, which is unconditional platonic love, prema. Shreyash, one question for you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, madam. Thank you so much, sir. I think lovely talk, and I really loved it, how it got built up into a cylinder. And when it was building up, as you talked about Mangalyaan, and it was still growing, I could feel that it is a cylinder to encase a lot of knowledge. But if I peek into the cylinder, I see another common thing which we discussed a lot of time, which is the Kupa Manduk. The way it has been designed, the way you delivered the talk, I think it was excellent for a Kupa Manduk to understand the vastness of what all we can achieve. So herein, I have two probes for you, madam. So often we see in present day and time that the Nyaya, or the way we want to achieve justice or understand a particular issue or challenge that we are facing. So Krishna ji also says that there is this Ardha Kukuti Nyaya, right? So you take off half of the hen, you understand it, and then you just extract whatever you feel is relevant for your purpose and case at that particular time, and then you proceed with it, right? And followed by that, there is also Shaka Chandra Nyaya, right? So you have to find the truth within the half truth, where half of the truth is already deleted. Right? So if that is the structure that we are living in, how do we survive, or how do we reiterate the mindset in present day and time?
Yeah, just when you were saying how we can take the mind, or these things are there. In the initial stage, I have spoken about the mindset and other things are there. See, mindset as and meaning, what we want to think is that we have to change the mind. But when the Krishna is talking about the mindset, he does not want to change anything. That is the key point of that, and that is what it is about. When you have asked and reading the Madhumita's questions, the double arrow consciousness that you will like to get an answer from me is that is what the double arrow consciousness is. That when you get an angry, be with that anger rather than utilizing that energy for the external use or anything is that. If you can be with that, if you can bear that, hold sensations into your body, suddenly within no time, the same anger will transform into the love and the affection. You will be able to see everything with the perspective of the love and affection. Now look at to the Mangalyaan team. They have never complained. We have never even spent a fraction of a second that this much budget only. Acceptance was there. Never complained anything about the team. They have never wasted any time for anything. Come on, be on this. Whatever you have, how to motivate that. Converted them from the job oriented to their own mission about it. And that is how the Mangalyaan can do it. So if we can just, make it sure that the people around us, when they can live, that is their own mission is there, instead of their one of the, assignment is there, then, you will find that person will become a participant and the part of your life as, an alive thing is there. Right now, they are part of our life as a mechanical part of it. Convert it into the liveness about it. That is what the Krishna is talking about, is about how we can become alive to use with the conservations of the energy and look into the perspective that either you will die or somebody else will die. It is the same thing is that, and how we can transform that death, or that death can be an opportunity to transform and move towards inside. That is what Krishna was explaining to. You are no more a karta. If you will get identified like an old man, then you are a karta. Otherwise, you are not an karta. You are an
Wonderful,
akarta.
wonderful, wonderful, madam. Wonderful, wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So, madam, we have reached about 9 o'clock. So I think we have established the premise. The 7-story building is all casted. The elevator is going up and down. The water tank,
Yes.
the water tank in the top of the roof is also supplying water. So things are going up, things are coming down, ascent and descent of the divine energy and our aspiration. So right now we open up the panel and we should not speak anymore. Shreyash and I, we invite questions from the August gathering here. Let's have questions from anyone to anybody, but no big questions, a 2-sentence question to any of the panelists. Anyone, please, please. So till you ask the question, I'll have the first question to probably Madhumita madam. So if I jump from what you said, madam, to what the other madam says, which is Dhwani madam, with Anilji in between the bridge. Yeah. So it's a long journey, and we are not ready for the journey. We cannot make sacrifice. We are rushing. And we are now, for example, I have a guaranteed job. I've already spent my life, but I can see young people running around from job to job. Even they're from the best discipline, they're losing jobs in 2 years. It's absolutely a devastated market economy globally right now. Some of the more organized job sectors, as they were organized 10, 15 years back, are all porous. They're all porous. And it's questionable. Even the softwares of yesterday are collapsing. And by next year, Python is going to collapse. And we'll absolutely have a quantum biological, quantum computing version of artificial intelligence with no discrete variables, but random variabling of all the algorithms. And Indian philosophy is essentially random variable. So is that the world is coming back to Indian philosophy by virtue of a new version of artificial intelligence? You are an excellent teacher, a great manager. What is your take to this funny question which I have just posed to you? And maybe Madam Dhwani Madam can also answer.
For this artificial intelligence, okay, Aditya, my son is also today in this meeting, and I will request Aditya to answer about that, because he is good into the artificial intelligence, and that's how the combination of the Vedic University's vision has come out.
Okay, okay, sure.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
let him finish, then I'll come back. You
Yeah,
ask.
but let us have very quick answers, small ones, so that others can raise questions, because we need to close in another 15-20 minutes,
Yeah.
as per the rule of this session.
Yeah. So if Aditya will speak, okay, then otherwise
Otherwise, madam, you continue, and then
Okay.
Aditya comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let us have
see,
quick answers, quick questions.
just what is the search that all of us have? Universal human search is what? To be happy. to be prosperous and have continuity of happiness and prosperity. So if this is the search that each of us across the world, I mean, everybody is looking for this. So now your question about what is going to make me happy. So this understanding cannot be related to material welfare, because the moment I'm looking at material welfare, I'm continuously in the scene of deprivation. If I ask any of you know the number of clothes you have in your cupboard, I don't think anybody knows. But every day morning we open the cupboard and say, oh, I don't know what to wear. Yet I don't know the number of clothes I have in my cupboard. So this is the mindset we have created, the continuous deprivation mindset that we have created. And as long as we are going to be in this deprivation, happiness is going to elude us. So though the search is for happiness, unfortunately we are not moving towards that. And when we are looking at AI, AI is good. AI can be a servant to the human being. But the day AI is going to take over the human being, I think we are heading towards disaster. We are already in a poly crisis that we are looking at. So AI cannot imagine, AI cannot create, AI cannot innovate, AI cannot do judgments like a human being can. But AI can help you to enhance that. So this is where I think we as the next generation have to understand, how do I use this tool to have an ethical, sustainable world. That is, if I understood your question, that, what is the search? Why are people losing jobs? Why are people not doing it? Because their search is not in the right direction. That awareness is not there. Am I looking at myself growing? Or am I only looking at that how many zeros are going to be added to my salary package? And that is where the danger is coming. And even from the organizations. Even from the organization.
Yeah. So Aditya, where are you?
Yeah, I'm here only. Thank you very much for opening the stage to me. Okay, so there are a couple of things which I wanted to cover. One point, which you mentioned, Professor Joy, is that are we coming back to the Indian philosophy? So let's talk about the quantum computing and how everything is going to be collapsing. What is quantum computing per se? That means if you go back to the Schrodinger's equation, that means the cat is alive and dead at the same time till the time you are not observing it. Okay, the same thing is happening with quantum computing. Till the time you're not observing it, all the states are true and false at the same time. So when you actually relate AI to Indian knowledge per se, is that only when you're in present is what the answer is. Till the time you are in future or in past, it's not the answer. So to get the right answer, you have to be in present. That's a philosophical take on quantum computing.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, that's a wonderful answer. Yeah, because that's called Nitya Vartaman, where the predictive future, the one wing of AI, and the regenerative future, the other wing of AI, they collapse and reciprocate each other in one ephemeral whole, So the Mahayogis of not philosophy, but meditation, philosophy as a way of life, because Indian philosophy is not in theories and books. It is a science of being and becoming. You become God. You don't worship a God in the temple, but you bring out God in yourself. You become God-like, like Brahma Rishis, Deva Rishis, and Raja Rishis. So that is the whole thing. So what happens? The internal world is equivalent to the external world. The arrow which is going in, where the cat is dead in transcendence, and the arrow which is going out, where the cat is alive in immanence, they become that one cat. They become that one. So I think, Aditya, you gave a very simple, I think I am complicated, you gave a very simple explanation of it. And this is where the world is going. If you look at the great works of Nobel laureate Ilya Prigogine or Werner Heisenberg or Niels Bohr, who used the coat of arms, the yin and the yang, and the Tao of physics written by Fritjof Capra. So in the last 70, 80 years, about 100 Western scientists have actually reverted back to Indian philosophy to seek answers. It's not that quantum physics is equal to Indian meditation, but at the pattern level, at the recognized pattern level, there is something in the Western world of external sciences which is looping back like the serpent eating its own tail, which is the Indian philosophy. That is the Ouroboros. So the serpent, which was like a linear mechanism, is warping as a cycle. So the end of the cycle in the macrocosm is also the end of the cycle in the microcosm, and the two are reciprocating it with each other. What is the take on this? Aditya. Maybe I like to hear a little. And I think Dr. Shishi Shotriya also has a question. He's a very renowned person from the Marine Sciences, the Institute of Marine Sciences at India Habitat Center. I had the Sojanya to actually been invited by him and speak at IHC. So Dr. Shotriya, you have a question here, a quick observation here, a quick one.
Yeah, Namaskar. I have a very small question.
No, you are not small. You're great.
And thank you for allowing me to ask. I just have a small question that, in this capitalistic world where we have a national duty to perform, and I'm sure that all the three nitis which you talked about, Krishna dimension, the Vidur dimension, and the dimensions of Chanakya, all three first relate to the national cause and the national duty. So in such a current materialistic scenario and capitalistic world, how can one be lift himself from personal self and perform that national cause? And that relates to not only creating competitiveness for your nation, but also outbeating and outsmarting the other countries which come into play. So, uplifting yourself from just being by just nimit, and seeing what is happening, you have to participate and not only excel yourself, but your country as a whole. So, may I request one of the speakers to kindly highlight it to the younger audience as to how to do that and take collectively things forward.
Can I take a lead? Anil Pandit here? Okay.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. You see, one of the important element of being able to sustain, we said about sustenance. Sustain what? Sustain ourselves, sustain our family, sustain our institution, and then maybe take it at a state level, national level, global level, whatever it is. Now, there are beautifully defined those 17 sustainable goals, and whatever out of that we can capture, imbibe, be it the reason why Python was being used and now AI could be supplementing, but those sustainable goals, if we are addressing them, then we are really sustaining ourselves, our society, and so on and so forth. And by sustenance, I mean even the salary. That's it.
Yeah, another thing, the difference between the West and the East, as I see it, and the capitalist world and what we are talking about in Indian philosophy, is the concept. The Indian philosophy says, change the man, the environment will change. The Western philosophy talks about change the environment, man will change. That is quicker, of course, but that is not sustainable. And that is where we are looking at building those thoughts into the individual, into the youngster, who will not go into depression. You see, when Dhwani madam was talking about moving away, being the nimitta, it is talking about nishkam karma, which doesn't mean that you don't have the fruit. Of course you have the fruit. But the fruit is not in your hand. It is there. That doesn't mean that you don't have a motivation, but the means to achieve that fruit is as important as achieving the fruit. Now, if you achieve it, then you don't start walking in air that I have achieved it, because you know the hard work that went into achieve it. And if you don't achieve it, in spite of your 100%, you know there were circumstances which were beyond your control, and you start accepting it. So that is what we have to understand when we are trying to look at the individual growth process. Nishkam karma doesn't mean that you stop work or you don't have a motivation. That is the wrong understanding of nishkam karma, which Dhwani madam was talking about, that you move away, and fruit is never in your hand. If you really think about it, it is never in your hand. It comes as a result of your work. Yeah. So I may say I'm going to get 100 in maths, but it may not be there till it is not in your hand. And that is why they talked about it. Don't get negatively obsessed with the fruit, because then the means go wrong.
Yeah.
And what I was trying to refer to is that teamwork and collective growth is also important for a national cause.
Absolutely.
And, not your own personal growth and your own personal. That's what I meant.
That is exactly which Chanakya also says, the stakeholder is so important. So as an individual, our Indian system also talks about the same thing. The individual has to grow because of his uniqueness. But what is the culmination? What is the sustainability of that uniqueness? Only when it will add value. See, if we, which you are absolutely rightly pointing out, if we don't have the team working with us, if we don't have the others working with us, and only I am growing, it's not going to be sustainable. It is not going to give us the growth that we are looking for. As a nation also, will we be able to compete? As a nation, everyone has to grow together for us to be able to compete with the other nations.
May I add something to?
Yeah, sure. It's a panel, and we need to close in 5 minutes. Yeah.
Now, when the Krishna was talking about the Dharma Yuddha, okay, what he means it, that irrespective of all of the people has tried to explain to the Dhritarashtra that your focus is not on the Praja, but your focus is only to give a benefits to the Duryodhan, and that is why this Yuddha is happening, and Krishna did not want it, that things should be continued. Okay, and that is what he was talking about. Okay, this, even though it is an war is there, he was telling that it is a Dharma Yuddha is there. Dharma Yuddha means at least the person who is considering the other person as, and part of their organizations, and they also treat them each other equally. Okay, and they play a different responsibility. They share a different responsibility is there. That is what was there into the Pandavas side was there. And that's the reason when even the Arjuna has to have both the choice, he selected Krishna. He has not selected the Sena, because the huge Sena may or may not be, but to keep ourselves united, will Krishna's presence will require over that. And even if any point of time, if you will see, the Arjuna was, even though the Krishna was a Sarthi, Arjuna was not going, saying anything, and without his permission, he was not telling. Even Krishna is guided how to eliminate Bhishma. Krishna has guided them how to eliminate Drona. Krishna has guided them. Everything was there. But it is like a teamwork was there, and that's the reason, even though the Pandavas just come out with the exile, and they have no resources of money, no resources of manpower, or like a Kaurava was there, still they won it. And even the Mangalyan was the same thing, is that if we don't understand Mahabharata, Yuddha, anything, if you understand Mangalyans, how the teamwork has been done, okay, you will understand the whole Bhagavad Gita into that. And that is
That's a brilliant thing. I think to understand the whole teamwork, the empathy building of the teamwork, the swarm, the ensemble, the swarm intelligence, the birds are flying together, the dinosaurs are moving together, ants are moving together, but human beings, because of greater intelligence, cannot move together. So in the animal world, you have swarm intelligence, and in the human world, you lose swarm. So you need to be a bit of animal to take it to the divine level, go to the next level of evolution, from animal to human and from human to divine. That is the whole click. And Krishna is absolutely an enigma. Just a few days before he goes to the court of Shivir for the diplomacy, for peace. He is Purushottam. He knows nobody will listen to him. But he still does that to keep it on the book of records, that there is someone who goes from this side to the other side and asks for a diplomatic solution, knowing that there will be no diplomatic solution. The same thing is happening today in the world. If you look at Western Asia, every 3 days they're talking about a summit of peace, and every 3 days they're dropping bombs. Yeah, and every 3 days they're dropping huge bombs, by virtue of which we can build up 100 hospitals and 100 schools and 100 SOS villages for old women and men. But everybody knows everything, and everybody is a Gan Papi. In Bengali, we use that word. And everybody is so intellectual, have 3 PhDs and 200 papers and 13 gurukuls and centers. But finally, at the end of the day, we behave like selfish brutes, because nothing has changed. Because that, as you said, madam, I'm talking to Dhwani madam, that transformation of the energy, that change in the gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, there is a beautiful thing. And I just know it's very crude. There's a little boy who says, madam, to his mother, in the night, when I get my potty time, I want to go to the bathroom, you wake me up. And the mother says, beta, when you get that potty time, I don't have to wake you up. You will wake up yourself. You will wake up on your own. So this is a beautiful statement. So that means in the evolutionary process, there is a built-in time for everything. So if we start saying everything to everybody, it will lead to more confusion. That is why religion has created so much of confusion around the world. Spirituality has not created.
Not created.
Not created. Because in most of the levels, we mistake religion for spirituality. And we are actually popularizing and we are converting and we want to increase our numbers. That's not spirituality. That is just politics. That's making new clubs and organizations and everything. And so that is why all the religions will finally vanish from this world. Only the Sanatana way of the rishis, not even Hinduism, only the Sanatana way of the rishis will remain, the Sanatana dharma of the rishis.
Yes.
We came from that and we go. I think everybody agrees to it. These are the words of Sri Ramakrishna. I think one of the latest gospels of the world. And I think two last question, and then we have to close. We have
P. Monga has been.
So one quick question from P. Monga. I think it's a beautiful panel we are having. And Shreyash, if there's no other question, you ask the last question. If you're out.
Yeah, P. Monga.
He's talking. He's talking.
Just a quick, very brief introduction. My name is Pavinder Monga. I'm actually an alumni of Kharagpur, so it's great to be here with Professor Sen, your facilitated panel. I'm working at a small firm in the personal growth domain. It is called Sunny Tribe Ethos. And what we're trying to do is, a lot of the concepts that we're talking about here, we are trying to pick some of these to make it more applied to help people, particularly youngsters in day-to-day life. And so Professor Sen, this is not so much a question, but I just wanted to share a couple of thoughts / suggestions.
Yeah, if you can be brief, if you don't mind, because we have to close the session in 2-3 minutes. And as per rules, finally we go by rules.
Certainly. The panel here is so esteemed, and with your facilitation here as the Sutradhar, Professor Sen, my request and ask is, if the panel and you can think about, not necessarily right away, but over time, how can we make so much wisdom and knowledge and gyan and all these concepts that you guys are talking about, how can we make this more accessible to youngsters to really help them in day-to-day life? And when I say accessible, I mean two things of that. One is metaphorical and one is literal. Metaphorical being, look, frankly, at the end of the day, for the youngsters, they're at a stage where it's also, sustenance is also important in their life. So how can these abstract concepts, frankly, many of these concepts are abstract, how can we make them more relatable and applied for their day-to-day life to help them in sustenance? Not technical teaching and academic teaching, but how can they imbibe some of these things to apply in their life at a more practical level? That's the metaphorical point of accessibility. The literal point of accessibility is, sir, we have, say, about 30 people in this panel today, panel meaning this forum today. I think the kinds of things you're talking about, and if we are able to make them applicable and accessible to youngsters, you should be taking this to thousands of youngsters because they are looking for it. And with that, I'll take a pause. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. And I think it was quite a big question with subparts. And I think some of the answers were already there in Anilji's presentation. Yeah, because he gave us grains and strategies and micro policies. But still, I'd like to have a quick answer for any one of the three of you, because we have a paucity in time.
Joy, just a quick one from my side.
Yes, sure, sir.
You have beautifully added a definition for AI, which is animal intelligence. Okay, but the key point I wanted to talk was about being able to bring about research of self, of all those SDGs and things like that. And that is, I would like to take the example of Mangalyaan, simple. There were constraints of budget, there were constraints of people, so and so forth and all that. But then they said, we will do it, because although our rocket is small, we will swing it X number of times around the earth and use the gravitational force of pulling out from the earth towards, and that is how eventually, although it took more time, we landed there effectively using with all the constraints. And the Prime Minister very beautifully acknowledged it as ₹7 per kilometer cost, less than out of air. So I thought I'll share that. Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, thank you. Yeah,
And Professor Joy, I think you can talk about, I mean, to Mr. Monga, the whole concept of dharma, arth, kam, moksha. I mean, what the Indian philosophy never says do not earn wealth. It just says do it within the two, you know, the dharma and the moksha. Into that you have the earth and the kam. So earn the wealth, enjoy the wealth, and but remember it has to be earned with dharma, and at the end of it you will realize they were all maya. You know, there is more to life than just the material wealth.
Absolutely. That's what Ramana Maharshi told to Paul Brownton. He said the whole of the life is to convert artha to paramarth.
Paramarth.
Now becomes paramarth. Finally, nothing changes.
Nothing changes.
The only thing that changes is our viewpoint. We change.
We change.
And with our participation, the world changes. So the whole external world has no existence but the reflection on our consciousness. As our consciousness becomes super consciousness, this world becomes super world. And we all become Superman. You know? And that's why Sri Aurobindo talks about super mind, the supramental, you know, which is the Vidya. So Shreyash, you have the great task of saying, because we have to close this session. We have to close this session. And I can hear some very children. Yeah, so they are the future. They are the future of tomorrow. We cannot escape them. So Shreyash, 2, 3, maybe someone should mute whoever is open. So Shreyash, please say something.
Yes. So that is my second arrow. That is my 2-year-old son speaking behind it. Sorry about it. But yeah, I think he is getting some distillations out of the talk as well, because I lost my audio in between. So I'm sorry about that. But here it's very difficult to close this session, to be very frank, when you're honestly speaking. But if I take it from the point of my place of employment, which is IIT Kharagpur, we have the motto to be dedicated to the service of the nation. So here I request all the speakers to maybe distill out of your talk and experience one single line on which we can remain dedicated to the younger lot that will be coming, and we can help them and take forward the ideas of Mr. Monga, who has presented that how can we take this forward. I'm just piggybacking on his statement that how can we take this forward to younger members of the society and expose them to the wisdom and wealth that we have had. I'm trying to structure this with DIKW, which is data intelligence, information, knowledge and wisdom. So if we structure it in this kind of a structure, right? So I would request each of the speakers in the sequence of the way you have presented to please give us one sentence, perhaps a sermon, on what we can work on.
One sentence.
Okay. So if we look at the Chanakya-Niti, the concept of survival is not about individual survival. It is not about the codes, policies and the rules. It is about going beyond that and ensuring the welfare of all. So that is what the Chanakya-Niti is trying to talk about. It is survival, but it is taking everybody into the concept of survival.
Anilji.
It is get educated for your needs, number one, and number two, be truthful. That's it.
Beautiful. So simple. As Guru Nanak says, truth is good, but higher is truthful living. If you're not practicing truth, all the books of truth are useless. Madam, Dhwani ji.
For me, you know, as you know, we were discussing about what Monga has spoken about it. We should reach out to the thousands of people. The teamwork is required, where everybody's, you know, the goal is that this is my own things are that which I would like to share with
Madam, you get Sundar Pichai or Adani ji in this forum. You'll have 50,000 registration in half an hour. Yeah. So you know where the mind is. Yeah. I mean, there was a gate crash in our Netaji auditorium. I mean, normally we don't have a gate crash. Only I think the last time when Elvis Presley came to Kolkata, or you know, and Beatles came to Haridwar to meet with Mahesh Jogi, there was a gate crash. Yeah.
I tell you, you know, when before 8 years when I have started, I was not expecting a person, you know, who is already retired, life or anything is that. can speak to the IITs and IIMs. And now in the next week itself, we have to go to the IIM Raipur also. So things are expanding.
Things are changing. Things are changing, and the students of today, madam, I know Shreyash will know more than me because he's more into the future. I mean, I think we are not as good as what the present students are. I just have an opposite view of the present students, and I'm very hopeful about the present students. They're much more energetic,
Intelligent.
yeah, much more intelligent, and they have a voice for and against, good things and not so good things, which didn't have. We are escapists. I'm telling you, we are
Yeah.
escapists.
But I tell you, if we can, take the AI as an, these things,
Animal intelligence, animal intelligence.
self-study will be, automatically will be there. Second thing is alertness will be there. When to push the button, you have to think twice. Okay, so that kind of an alert.
So second AI, madam, you're giving fantastic alert intelligence. Next.
Intelligence
Yeah.
is
So from animal intelligence to alert intelligence. Fantastic. I think, Shreyash, we should write a book on this, Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so I think, so we have crossed 9:30, and as per the norms of
Yes.
IIT Kharagpur, I think we really, bow and give our
Thank you.
pranam to the three esteemed speakers. It's not quantity, it's quality. Arjuna just got Krishna, and Duryodhana got that Ek Laksha Narayani Sanya. He lost, Arjuna won. So it's finally quality which matters. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's quality which matters. Maybe we cannot have any more questions because we have crossed 9:30 and we need to close this session. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And I'm thankful to IIT Kharagpur for giving an opportunity to Dwarkadhish Holistic Centre and their team to express their views and acknowledge their, point of view.
Yeah. One day, madam, will go to Gujarat to your center.
Yes.
Will come down.
Yes,
Go
sure.
up to Gujarat.
Sure.
Thank you, Pranam.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you.
And our,
Thank
and our
you.
special thanks to all the people who are here
Yes.
and asking and being present, because I think they are the reflected, the cognitive mirror, the AI cognitive mirror of what you say. Without them, nothing is good. Nothing is good. Pranam, madam. So with this,
Pranam.
we sign off and we end today's session. Bande Mataram.
Vande Mataram.
Thank you. Vande Mataram.
Thank you.
Thank you.